What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 192 of Littleroot Lessons. I'm currently feeling every single emotion humanly possible, and today I'm joined with Jay and Carter. The three of us are back together for the first time since September, I think. Gentlemen,
That's not true.
How are you? I think so. Do we do?
I think we had one like 2 weeks ago with all
Yeah,
of
like
us.
2 weeks ago, right?
No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago I wasn't on. It was just you and Jay.
3 weeks ago.
No, 3 weeks ago was just you and me.
I'm looking. You're clearly wrong.
Maybe
we're
it was
back,
Peoria
baby.
that was.
The
I
whole
think,
squad is here.
I think it's Peoria was the last time we were together, which was so. Okay,
Oh yeah, so
it's
yeah,
a month. I'm like a week off. Sue me.
We didn't have any events this week, so
Peoria is not
is
September. So Angela's wrong.
the episode's basically over already because we don't have any events to talk about, right?
No,
Bye guys.
we
I'll see
don't.
you next week then.
Yeah, peace
You
out.
wish.
Close that window. Close this window.
No, instead we actually have a lot of fun to go on this week about some team building. So, Angela, you want to take it away?
Yeah, we can just skip the football talk this week. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I want to skip it too. Jay,
We won by 34 points.
I hate you, Jay.
Today was
Jay
a good day.
Angela and I are not going to get into it. Jay doesn't have anything to talk about because his team was a blowout. So, like, yeah,
I didn't even get to watch OBJ's first touchdown with the team, which was very disappointing as a New Yorker. So they turned my game off because we were kicking the crud out of them.
So what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing three different types of team building exercises. We're going to start off with my plan, and what we're going to show you through my base is pretty much how to team build from the ground up. Pick a Pokemon and then go. And so the Pokemon that I really want to build with today, gentlemen, is Roaring Moon. I think it's a super fun Pokemon. I know like the Roaring Mid like jokes are there. But I think it's just really positioned super well into the metagame with its typing, with its ability to either be a sweeper with Dragon Dance or this super cool support set that we've been seeing as well with Tailwind and Breaking Swipe. And I think if I am going to do anything with it, I want to lean towards the support set. So it's going to be open conversation. For this portion, because we're going to be building this team together with the support Roaring Moon, which is a booster energy set with Protect, Tailwind, Breaking Swipe, and Knockoff. And then you're also... we can talk about the terrors later. But with that set, which Pokemon do you think really enjoy that offensive support, like Tailwind support, that Roaring Moon gives?
So, my big problem with Roaring Moon is it gets two-shot by Ambipom, so it sucks.
I
Back,
personally really like Amoonguss next to Roaring Moon. I think that, like, although it doesn't take advantage of its Tailwind, it takes advantage of its Breaking Swipes and its knockoffs. To position itself, get some sleeps off, allow Roaring Moon to continue to chip, and then also get into your sweepers. Its typing is good into Flutter Mane, and the longevity from Pollen Puff is really, really great as well. I think it's just a great pairing with Roaring Moon always.
Yeah, I think with the Amoonguss as well, we could be in a situation where maybe like not going Turbo Shroom, but instead of going just full-blown min speed, just staying at a neutral speed, to where you can actually maybe outspeed some Iron Hands while the Tailwind is up to get some spores off there, or even to Pollen Puff your Roaring Moon so you can live another hit. So that was the first contribution from Jay. What are you thinking, Carter?
So I think to kind of like talk about like things that you want to be able to like pair with like Tailwind, right? My first thought is you probably want something along the lines of like Urshifu, especially because Roaring Moon is weaker to Intimidate because you are a physical attacker. having Urshifu means that you threaten both of the best Intimidate Pokemon in the format, being Landorus and Arcanine. The problem is that Arcanine has like extreme speed and can still hit you fairly hard, but then they're locked into extreme speed. So if you have any kind of ghost on your team, such as the best Pokemon in the format, Fluttermane, you're just able to like very easily switch in and be able to like threaten them that way as well. And I think the other big thing then is like if you have Urshifu, you want to fill out your like Fire, Water, Grass cord, and like Heatran is another Pokemon that like plays well in Tailwind, but like also doesn't mind being slower in the event that like Trick Room or something goes up as well. You're able to be able to threaten the opponent. I mean, Heatran's awesome, man. It is a Pokemon that I really do think is, I don't want to say underexplored, because I feel like I say that a lot, but underrepresented for what it does.
I think it's the current meta. It's getting a lot of representation. Like, I mean, so
it's been popping off quite a bit recently.
it really has.
It's really good, man. There's a reason it's popping off.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I love Heatran.
I do agree with you with the Urshifu here, and especially I think that let's save off on some of the items. The only item that I'm set on is the booster speed on the Roaring Moon. We aren't sure where we're going with the Amoonguss and the Urshifu.
I think like since you're doing like Tailwind things next to Urshifu, you don't need like Scarf. So it makes me want probably like damage boosting items and probably like Mystic Water.
I think Mystic Water
And,
can
like,
definitely work.
The other thing about having Mystic Water on Urshifu is like no other Pokemon on your team is really gonna want that. So like you're not having problems with like overlapping items once you get into like the nitty gritty.
Yeah, and it lets you set Protect if you're waiting for the Roaring Moon to set Tailwind. The only the main drawback to the support Roaring Moon is that you don't get the access to the Prankster Tailwind, so the Tornadus gets to set beforehand, allowing them to outspeed. So I think having the ability to protect your Urshifu is really key to allowing Roaring Moon to set the Tailwinds. And to kind of piggyback off of what Carter and you were saying about completing the Fire, Water, Grass core, I think that another fire type that works well here would be like the Ogerpon Hearthflame.
Mm-hmm.
I think that its high base speed lets it take advantage of the Tailwind better than Heatran. You obviously lose a lot of the extended bulk that Heatran gives you, and the ability, the flash fire, which helps with other Heatran and a lot of the strong fire type attackers like Chi-Yu that Amoonguss doesn't like. But you get like secondary redirection and a really fast option that can kind of just turn on the jets and go, really offensive and hit really hard with Ivy Cudgel.
Yeah, one of the other.
My big problem here, specifically with Hearthflame, is it leaves you really weak to specifically like flying types. And granted, like the only flying type that's really running around that carries coverage is Landorus if they Terra. It's like it's not that big of a concern, especially if you do have some kind of coverage for it as well. You can always slap on like hands here. If you really wanted to, you could have some kind of ice type. Maybe that'd be like bundle. There's a lot of things that you can compensate that 3 weakness to a flying type. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here on Pikalytics. The only flying type in the in like over 10% usage is exactly Landorus. So I don't think that's really that big.
Tornadus Bleakwind Storm is.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Really important, especially
just completely overlooked
Amoonguss can't redirect that one away.
That is true.
So I get where you're coming from there too. I think that Heatran slots well here. It's like a good offensive Pokemon in the right circumstances, but also very good defensively and takes a lot of advantage of the breaking swipes specifically, and can take advantage of the Tailwind, while also being an answer for Trick Room along with Amoonguss.
So the Pokemon.
Yeah,
the Pokemon I actually want to go with for a fire type, which helps against the flying type weaknesses of Urshifu and Amoonguss. It's actually Hisui and Arcanine.
The Pokemon have won every tournament so far.
This is one of the best Pokemon in the game. It also helps with Intimidate, so we aren't super focused on just the breaking swipe. as our
Mhm.
way of lowering physical attack. I think having multiple ways to do so in such a physically based meta is super important. And I do think that the Bandit Arcanine just works super well here with your classic Flare Blitz, Rock Slide, and Extreme
E-speed
Speed. And we
and
can look at the coverage move here. And then the other Pokemon that you mentioned, that Carter mentioned, was having a Ghost type. I think Ghost is another super important type to have here.
this
And
this
we,
could be like Dusclops if you wanted to have some kind of Trick Room component. It could be like Dusclops plus Hands as your last two.
I
Could be
don't think
Golden Go.
Dusclops. I think I was going to say I think it has to be either Golden Go or Flutter. I don't think like a Trick Room mode really works, like a Tail Room
Looking at the
at
four
this
we
form.
have here, like Roaring Moon, Urshifu, Arcanine don't really want any kind of Trick Room. Amoonguss is like fine with or without it here. So like if we dropped Urshifu for like Hands, just to have that fighting coverage there, I could see having Trick Room and then be like having like Roaring Moon, Hands, and then have like Dusclops plus Blood Moon to round out the team. Just have that like slower mode as well. But then like your Roaring Moon doesn't like the Tailwind isn't really all that impactful on that
Yeah,
team. Then
I
you're
think if
you're
you're doing
really you're fairly slow at that point if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I think at that
Um,
point, if you go in that like with the Dusclops, and this is just one of the things, and this is good conversation when you're building a team with people. You want to have disagreements. You don't want everyone to be like, "Oh yes, yes, yes." Yes, men don't help you make good teams. You need people to say no. Um, However, I do think like throwing a Pokemon like Dusclops onto this, you can run into a situation where the team is like pulling itself in multiple directions. You have a direction that's clearly a trick room direction and a direction that's clearly a tailwind direction, and it means that in certain matchups you won't be able to use all six of your Pokemon
mhm.
together. You want to make sure that and not every team's able to do this, but most of your teams you want to make sure that you can pick any four of your six and it could still work. I think that the Trick Room fear is warranted, but with the main Trick Room mode being Psy Spam and Roaring Moon actually, with its special defense stat, its Dark typing, and knockoff, it actually does really, really well into Psy Spam. Not that it's a full answer, but like Roaring Moon plus Rock Slide spam from Hisuian Arcanine to start everything off with a Moongus in the back I think is pretty good into it's good enough into the main trick room component where if they get that first trick room up is what it is. But I mean, between a knockoff and just a well timed rockside flinch, you might be able to end the threat before it even starts and just get a ton of momentum immediately. I'd say for the ghost type here, with me wanting to at least have some slower Mon. I think Goldengo is the call. We've seen
I actually really like the idea of like Nasty Plot Goldengo here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with like leftovers, Terra
Mm-hmm.
Dragon. You set it next to the Amoonguss. You use your Intimidate and Breaking swipes
To prevent it from just
to
like getting
mm-hmm.
KO'd,
yeah, to get that extra bulk on those big threats to it. Those
and then
Ogre
Shadow Ball.
Ponds,
Yeah,
those Landorises, etc. Allows you to get around the Shadow Balls with the Amoonguss and the Roaring Moon, kind of as good answers into that.
Yeah,
Um, I do think that like the Trick Room idea is maybe like not all too bad to actually think about. Like something like putting an Iron Hands here makes a lot of sense. But also, I was kind of thinking that maybe something like a Farigiraf could be really important too. Something that you
Farigiraf actually
can
seems really interesting. It
some,
helps
some
against like your I mentioned that Hisuian Arcanine is kind of a problem with being able to just threaten you with E speed, making it where they can't E speed you is a pretty good idea.
yeah.
Makes it also where you're immune to fake out, so that like Roaring Moon can safely get Tailwind up as well. Um, yeah, I actually really like the idea of like Farigiraf here.
And
If
into
you want to
like
get cheeky,
the
you could do Serena, but I don't think Serena plus Amoonguss is where
no.
you
I
Serena Amoonguss Urshifu is really not where I
I
want to be.
I like Farigiraf specifically. If you want to get freaky with it, you go with like Bruxish. But I like the idea of just like against those prankster tailwind teams with the Tornadus being able to say, lead the Farigiraf and kind of be like, if you set tailwind, I have the option of setting Trick Room here, while also going up against those Trick Room teams, being able to potentially set Imprison, stop
What's
against
also
the
really
extreme speed
interesting.
spam, allow your Mungus to uh, actually do its job rather than just be ignored by the extreme speeders.
What's also really interesting about Farigiraf, um, your ability makes it where you can be prankster taunted either. So like preventing Trick Room into Farigiraf is actually fairly difficult. You can't prankster taunt it. You can't fake out it. Next to Mungus, you have redirection, so like KOing it is not impossible, but really freaking hard. So I really like the idea for Farigiraf here. Um, I'm gonna go do some digging on Picolytic, see if there's anything spicy I like.
Yeah, so Fergraph is definitely a Pokemon that I've thought of here as well. It just fits. It can put out a bit of damage. It does have a base 110. We can actually pull up Fergraph here. So it actually does have like a base 110 special attack, which is really nice. It's super bulky with the 120 HP and the 70-70 defenses. I think that on these Tailwind teams, it definitely could be a great option. Other Pokemon I was thinking of in this slot, I think Landorus is all like Hans and Landorus. I believe are always Pokemon that you have to take into account for building really any team. Honestly, Qianpao could also really work here to support the damage output on
From
Urshifu
Arcanine and Urshifu. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, even next to Roaring Moon, really, like, because Roaring Moon, even the support sets can still do
It
a lot
still
of
does a
damage.
ton of damage. Yeah.
Yeah, knockoff is a base like what 90 to 110 base power move.
Yeah, knockoff.
Whatever it ends up
Yeah, it's
being,
60
it's like
times 1.5,
1.5
right?
times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
like
it's
Yeah.
like 97 and a half
yeah,
before
like a
stat.
lot of that's a lot of damage from a very strong attack stat. Yeah.
So, I actually think since this is a more offensive leaning team in general, and we do have a lot of Pokemon, Ice type as well is just a great typing to have. It adds the ability to have that double, the double priority. There we go with Arcanine and the Sucker Punch from Chimpao. So yeah, I do think that at least where I'm leaning, I think Chimpao's the great move. Now, I'd say
Shinpao concerns me here.
why is that?
I feel like
actually
we're
really
absurdly
weak to
weak
Iron Hands.
to Flutter at this point. We
I'm
have
not s-
4 Mons that are weak to Flutter main.
I could see that. And then also like looking at it, this team, I definitely see as well. an
Also leaves you
issue.
3 weaknesses to hands as well.
Yeah.
I'm
and
more
all of
worried
our
about the
damage
hands.
is physical too,
Yeah.
which is makes us very intimidate weak.
Which like
Yeah.
is not a I don't want to say it's not a problem because like Urshifu, you're not always clicking Searching Strikes with Urshifu, right? Like you had
Yeah.
to still consider being intimidated with it.
And surging strikes, like if you go into Terraflying Landorus, like it can pretty easily survive that hit
Mhm.
and hit back with a really strong Terraflying Terra Blast. The Choice Scarf can be very concerning with your speed tiers running the Mystic Water here, and the no prankster Tailwind. So like, I could see where the Intimidate becomes can become an issue, and also the weaknesses that you guys are talking about too.
So actually, then this is a good thing. So let's take a look here, adding a Pokemon. Let's look at some strong legal special attackers, and see if we could find anything that really could fit and help
Thundy.
support. I know
Thundy's
that this team
interesting.
was ran with Thunderous Therian. Like again, like the Assault Vest Thundy Therian on Jamie Boyd's team.
Are you kidding me? I was thinking Choice Specs.
You could do specs as well. There's a lot of different places you can go, but that definitely could be an option. I think honestly, to be quite honest as well, just looking at things, another interesting option could be having the Arcanine be Lando T and adding Shiyu.
I still think I like Heat Train more than Chi-Yu here.
Yeah,
I
Like-
think I like Arcanine more than both. But
that was going to be one of the points I bring up is we could drop Arcanine for Landorus, which then gives us like a ground immunity for Goldengo and whatever fire type we end up playing. Because currently we don't have a like ground immunity. And like Heat Train also then gives us a fire immunity for Amoonguss and Goldengo as well. Unless it's exactly like Hearth Flame.
We already have 3 fire resists on the team.
That is also very true.
Hershey, but like really looking at it, having a Pokemon with a ground immunity, especially because we aren't going to be Terra Flying, Roaring Moon, we're probably going to be Terra Poison, but ground immunity Flying type. I mean, a ground immunity that is a special attacker. Honestly, kind of is really nice.
Like you're talking about Vikavolt, right?
Hell yeah, brother! Let's do it.
Yeah, and so, out of this group, I think I'm the person who uses the most standard Pokemon. Looking at my teams,
Jay and I get wild, man.
We have fun with it.
Jay also has like good sets when he plays his wild mons, and mine's just like, man, you don't. I don't know if you know this, but we can click outrage with and just like go down the rabbit hole. I don't know if you saw, but I played a team of monkeys.
6 monkeys jumping on a bed. One fell off and bumped his head. The other
I had
clicked
to
fake out last resort and nuked your whole team.
And then it died, and then I brought in another fake out user, and then another fake out user.
The face that when I apologized to Pengy on behalf of you, he was like, "Why were there 4 fake out users?" And I had to ask you, and your only answer was,
"Why?
Because I had 4."
Because they all learn it. I don't know what you want from me.
Why wouldn't we have 4 fake out users if they can all use it, right? Like, it's a good move.
If I could have had 6, I would have used 6.
If I can click double fake out every single turn, I will.
Yeah. But
again, something is going to die to fake out. It's going to be fake out switch. just.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to everything.
Jay gets it.
This is like a Jimmy Boy thing where he said like he's known to use some weird Pokemon, but he said like sometimes even if it like with the Thundurus here, we want a special attacker so we aren't super like intimidate weak. We want some damage. We want a ground immunity. And is Thundurus Therian like the first Pokemon you think of? Absolutely not. But it's a Pokemon that checks the boxes that we currently need filled. And when you're doing this first step of team building, go with something that might be a little out of like the box of like what the general meta is. If that Pokemon fits your fits what you need. Now, I'm not saying like start a team where if Thundurus Therian's your favorite Pokemon, you can do that. But generally, like if you're trying to like do well at like premier challenges, your mid-season showdowns, your majors, starting with a Pokemon like Thundurus Therian might not be something where I'm like, yeah, do that. But if Thundurus Therian's the 6th Pokemon and you're looking at it's like this is what it is, throw it on there, see what happens. Which is exactly what we're doing. Now, the second part of this process, I know we did fill out some move sets and items, but it is looking at movesets, items, and Terra types. So for the Roaring Moon, on the support sets, you definitely want to go with a defensive Terra type. Poison is the go-to because you get that resistance to both Iron Hands and Flutter Mane, which is just amazing to have. Along with the fact that you resist the grass portion of the Ogerpon's stabs, and you're relatively neutral to everything else. on Amoonguss, and this is where we start getting into the conversation of like items and terra types. So I personally think the item for Amoonguss actually needs to be Rocky Helmet right
I was
I
gonna say
now.
agree.
Rocky helmet. I really like.
Yeah.
Rocky Helmet or
Um,
Citrus Berry. I don't think you go with
the fact
much
that we don't
else.
have Farigiraf makes me really want Rocky helmet here.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
especially on this team, it's you want the because you can still pivot and get the regenerator health. And
Mm-hmm.
as for a Terra type, Amoonguss, we have.
Water.
I think water is just generally the best for it.
Is water concerning, seeing how Ogre Pond's really popular?
It's
We
not
just
all
don't.
that popular,
It's popular enough, and I think we just
and
don't Terra in front of it.
you
I
like
think,
you
yeah.
really want to answer like the Urshifu, and you would just want to like not get hit by the fire type moves either.
Yeah.
Um, there's drawbacks to Woodhammer. There's drawbacks to Horn Leech. There's like no drawbacks to Ivy Cudgel. Um, so it's like you can hit me with the weak Horn Leech. You can do tons of damage to yourself with Woodhammer, or you can be a resisted hit. But I think it helps you a lot more with the Arcanine and the Chi-Yu specifically,
That's fair.
and the Chien-Pao as well.
Yeah. Now for the Urshifu, I think, I think yeah.
Just
This
like
is a me thing.
Mystic Water and water.
I like having 3 to 4 um, protects on a team in general, and I know I'm going to be using Band on Arcanine, and I'm probably going to be using a either Specs or AV on the Thundy.
What about Life Orb?
On Thundy,
Yeah,
I like it. So
We
my
could,
thought process is I don't like multiple choice items on the same team. It can lead to some really awkward end games if that's what like you're locked into. Assault Vest does give you an additional bulk, but Life Orb, I really feel like Thunderous really wants to be able to do just like a ton of damage, and if we're not going to be specs, I think Life Orb is probably the best we can be.
the AV does help a ton with like Flutter Mane,
Which is true.
specifically,
yeah.
which I think is very key for Thundy. I
I'm gonna
think
run a calc.
on the Urshifu, I kind of really like the idea of like Swords Dance Urshifu on this team.
Especially since we have like a redirector, we have Tailwind, so we can be able to do things.
Yeah, and like your Roaring Moon is the support variant, so you can you don't have that second Pokemon to set up with. Like you have Golden Go, but you could like totally do like Swords Dance Urshifu with like Terra Water,
Yeah, why not?
or even defensive Terra if you wanted to do that. I think that Terra Water is just like really good here.
I think water still works as a decent defensive Terra because by going Terra Water, sure you keep your hands weakness, but you're getting rid of your weakness to electric types from Iron Hands and the Fairy weakness as well. So I think like the Terra Water here doubles.
Yeah.
And for the item,
You could be like Goggles even with like Amoonguss on the rise
I
since
think
we are running the Swords Dance.
I like
I,
that.
I was actually about to say goggles as well because we're able to use sword stance to boost your attack. We have the surging strikes, and the other move I'm actually thinking of with the sword stance is drain punch as the fighting coverage instead of close combat, where
I like that a lot since we're trying to do sword stance things, and then we can
Yeah.
just like be
I'm
bulky.
I'm just concerned with
the damage output.
that and just that you're kind of very much committing to getting the Swords Dance up with the Drain Punch.
That is
a good
true.
point.
With the close combat, you're able to lead it with the Roaring Moon and get that Tailwind boost and kind of smack something with a close combat, but also put it next to the Amoonguss and set up a Swords Dance, and then start hitting things with Surging Strikes. I don't mind Drain Punch on the Swords Dance sets, but I think that on a team like this with like so much hyper offense, just like committing to the hyper offense with the setup mode can really add a lot of danger from the Urshifu.
No, I agree with you. I think you made a good point. I think the drain punch might have been too greedy. Arcanine. So there's 2 ways I think you can go with the Arcanine. We can either be the Terra Fairy with Terra Blast, or we could be the Terra Normal with Head Smash as the fourth move. I've ran both. I like both. I'm just trying to figure out what is probably best for this team. Do I want that defensive terror? Do I want that defensive terror type, or do I want that damaging type? Currently, I'm leading Terra Fairy. If this last spot was Chien-Pao, I definitely would have went with the Terra Normal Arcanine. But I think Terra Fairy Fairy Blast, just to have some sort of, is just some ability to have fairy coverage, I think is important.
I agree. This team doesn't love seeing Urshifu on the other side, and without the Chien-Pao, that Terra Normal isn't as threatening.
No,
But keeping the Arcanine around to do extra damage later on in Tailwind, I think is.
yeah, no, I definitely agree there. And again, it just gives you another defensive option to go with. The Goldengo we already talked through. Terra Dragon with the Nasty Plot. Again, this is a set in stone amazing set, and it just can do so much damage. Outside of the leftovers, another item you can put there is the Metal Coat or even the Life Orb. So those are options as well. And the last Pokemon that we're going to be looking at is going to be Thundurus. Now we can decide. We do have the band on Arcanine. I am leaning because I think it still does enough damage. We do so with this. We have 4 protects, so I'm okay with going with a bulky or assault vest. But first, I think we should talk about the attacks. So Thunderbolt is your most consistent source of damage, while Wild Bolt Storm is just a stupid attack and can really win. Has the potential to win games itself.
We probably want Terra Blast as well, right?
You could run that, but you could run Fly Forward Flash Cannon, which probably does pick up Flutter Mains.
I literally have the calc pulled up.
And then you could do defensive Terra so that you match up better into Landorus. You don't take the rocky, the rock slides.
I actually think instead of Flash Cannon
and the Ice Spinners from Chien-Pao and Icicle Crashes, you could go Terra Steel or something on it.
I was going to say Sludge Bomb is another interesting coverage move as well.
But Flutter Mane, it's only neutral into it.
Good point. I was
252 Modest Life Orb Flash Cannon is a 1 in 16 to KO no bulk Flutter Mane.
Yeah, that's bad.
Really?
That's bad.
What about Terra Steel?
That should pick it up.
But we're talking no bulk Flutter Mane. The Flutter Mane's going to have a decent chunk of HP.
126 min.
Yeah.
If they are max HP, Terra Steel is a guaranteed KO still.
Whoa.
Interesting. That could be the case. I do like that. Here's my next question. What does Terra Flying Terra Blast do?
I was going to say deals with hands, but that's not even accurate.
Amoonguss, Ogre Pond.
I think Amoonguss and Ogre Pond is good for it. What does it do into Flutter?
It's just another neutral move. You would probably just rather use.
I was going to say, well, you do have the double stab.
Yeah, that's.
Is double stab even that important on this thing though?
Well, for the flying type, I mean, we can at least run.
You hit Rillaboom.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But you have Arcanine, Goldengo, Amoonguss, and Roaring Moon all answer Rillaboom pretty well.
You already hit Bundle. Yeah, I don't think Flying Stab is actually that important on this.
And I feel the flying type defensively for Thundurus is pretty rough for it. Being able to Terra away from that into I was saying Steel, before putting the Flash Cannon connection together, just because it's good into the Chien-Pao, it's good into the Rock Slides, the Ice type attacks. Those, it's you don't have to worry about your Electric type weakness. So just covering your Flying type weakness really helps. And the Steel type really does that well.
Let's give it a
Honestly,
go.
I really like the idea of Terra Steel, Assault Vest, Flash Cannon, and then you could run like, if you want to get weird, you could do like knockoff on this, so you just have like something else.
Well,
Um,
we have the knockoff on the moon, so I think that's a
that
little
is
redundant.
true.
Yeah, you
It
could
is
put the
very true.
sludge. You could put like the sludge bomb
You
here.
could have
I was going to say
dark
sludge bomb.
bolts.
Grass knot honestly is pretty
Grass
nice.
knot's a fantastic one. That helps a lot with like Dozo and
I mean, we already
Ursaluna.
bullied Dozo, right?
But the grass knot, like I think since Dozo's so heavy, it does probably a little bit more. Could be wrong
Then
though. Let me
then
then maybe
Thunderbolt?
like
I don't think
Thunderbolts.
so.
Let's calc. Let's see.
Well, I think the other big thing for the grass knot, it's just like there are just a lot of generally like heavy Pokemon. Because it's not even honestly with the Thunderbolt, it might not even be just by not doing Thunderbolt the grass knot. It's like hitting like the
Thunderbolt
water
is slightly
types.
more, so they're very close though. It's 104 to 123 for Thunderbolt and 93 to 110 on Grass Knot into No Bulk Dozo. That's just from Max Special Attack Thundy. So yeah, I guess like I don't really the Grass Knot. I guess it like as a coverage, considering you have all the electric type
Yeah,
moves, is a little
I
whatever.
I think I think the other thing is just in general.
The ground
Um,
types, right? Like Ursaluna,
yeah,
it's really good for.
yeah, I
That
think
is
that's
true.
just
You
gonna be good.
you probably Oko Blood Moon with Grass Knot,
Honestly, probably yeah. Blood Moon does not have a great spit F stat.
and it's
Um,
heavy.
yeah,
Grass Knot
but
is a Oko from Modest 252 Assault Vest. So,
yeah,
granted, that is also no bulk. Let's change that.
Dark Pulse on it
It's-
could help you
it
with
doesn't
like
matter. It's a guaranteed KO.
Cresselia, which
I don't think Cresselia.
I don't think Cress is all that
It's-
important.
I also don't think when I have knockoff from Roaring Moon and then
Shadow Ball
set
from Goldie.
Shadow
Yeah.
Ball from Set Up Goldango, especially as well. A lot of the a lot of crests are either going to be Terra Fairy or Terra Water, and the Goldango, if it's Terra
Lines up
Fairy,
well against either of those.
yeah. And
But,
then Thundy is right there to punish the Terra Water. So I think in general, Grass Knot being
But-
like
with the calcs before, the life orb was what we were calcing for with the flash cannon, right? So we could
Yes.
just like put
You have to
life
be Life
orb,
Orb to KO.
and
max,
then we could just
max
put
pull.
protect on it. Even
Oh yeah,
and
I mean that just
like-
makes sense, right? Instead of having this like weird last coverage move, we just like. Do we want to drop Thunderbolt? Is that
No, I think-
crazy to say?
No. I think
No,
you
I-
want
I-
it.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I actually would rather because I think most people aren't going to be running max HP Flutter, and that's something where if it comes up enough, you can readjust. Like if it's taking out the 126 HP for special offense with Terra Steel Flash Cannon, I think I'm okay with that.
You probably don't, because we weren't picking it up with the life orb before Terra. So
Well, I'm saying with Terra.
yeah, but you probably don't pick it up. I wouldn't. It was like 1/16 beforehand or something. Like with the life orb, you take away that, you add the Terra. It's probably you're going up to like 1/8. You know, like you're
I
rolling.
am taking the bulkiest set I can find on Peakalytics, which is 244 HP, 20 special defense, timid.
That's a super bulky one.
Well, do it into lower bulk Flutterman
Yeah.
without the life orb, because that's what's important here. If we
So-
need the life orb to pick up the Fluttermane, then we have to run it. If not, then
So
we can
we'll
afford the
let me do. Do you want like no bulk or do you want like
do
148
one-
4?
Do like the normal set that I do is normally like 220.
220 plus special defense or
220 HP for special defense.
Okay.
No positive nature on either. of them.
Assault Vest does after Terra 79 to 94.
Yeah, so you need the life orb. The life orb is probably close to guaranteed, right?
103 to 123.
I think. Yeah.
That being said, Shadow Ball does if your life orb does let's say you are 4 HP and max speed. Shadow Ball does 66 to 78 that's from Life Orb Flutter. So we'll say booster. Let's say
Probably
modest
not even
booster.
2-shot in you, right?
It's a guaranteed 2-shot.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
with
with
booster
the
special
booster
attack, though, right? That's
Yeah,
the same
that's-
as running Life Orb, though.
That
Yeah.
is true. But
Okay,
this way you don't lose
and a lot of them
you
run
don't have the
booster
chip.
speed.
Yeah.
What,
The
what
booster
about,
special
what about
attack
if
has
it's
been coming
no
back a lot
booster
more
on it?
on I think
It is. This is 220. We'll say. Do you run max special defense or max special attack, Jay?
No, it's around like 84.
yeah.
And they're normally the speed boosting timid.
Yeah, timid. 49 to 58 from Shadow Ball.
So it's a roll
it's like a
for
1 in 16 to
Yeah.
live. Like you had to hit the 1 in 16 twice to be
Yeah.
able to live, essentially.
To be quite honest, because then I will have the Thunder. I will have my own Life Orb recoil as well. I'd rather be bulky and live it out with the Assault Vest, and yeah, I think I'd rather be bulky, live it out with the Assault Vest, and have the ability to go like maybe Flash Cannon then Wild Bolt, or like Flash Cannon and then another coverage move where those two moves.
Or
can
even just like
KO.
Wild Bolt on the swap. Like if you hit them
Yeah.
on the swap in like Flash Cannon's a KO, then.
I don't think you need to drop Wild Bolt on the Life Orb set. I just think that Grass Knot.
Oh no, I'm not saying to do that either.
Yeah,
I think
the
if
thing
we're
is-
gonna do Life Orb, I think we drop Grass Knot for.
I don't know.
protect.
It's just like you're trading, your ability to one-shot things to survive an extra turn for them to hit you twice.
I think if with the speed I'll be able to pick it up. I'll be able to pick it up. I'd
Flutter
rather have.
outspeeds you, and
Well,
they're probably just gonna match your tailwinds.
I still think it has to be the
Plus,
best.
if you're firing off Wild Bolts on the swap in, there is that 20% chance you do para.
Yeah.
I don't hate the idea of Assault Vest. I just really like the idea of guaranteeing the KO.
I just think you're opening yourself
gonna be taking a hit.
you're opening yourself to fake out. You can't
Yep.
protect. You're opening yourself to Prankster Tornadus with Tailwind
think-
into strong attacker.
More protect is better than
Ogre
less
Pawn.
protect.
And I don't know. It's just like you're not all that bulky. Like
Yeah, bulk's really not that great. 79, 70, 80. Like,
Yeah, you definitely but like that's the thing where I feel like I think you need the vest to even live out certain plays.
I mean,
and
I
I
don't
think
know though. Like Ogre Pawn was doing the whole just nuke things thing, with that like similar bad, bit defensive stats. With I
I'd
don't
say
think you need the vest.
I think my main worry about going and dropping the Grass Knot is that ground types. It's the ground resist or immunity, but I'm a ground immunity that can't touch ground types, which is why I feel like I need the Grass Knot, or even for me to go in a different direction, go Terra Ice, Terra Blast. Because I do like part of Thunderous's job here is to be the ground Pokemon answer. So that means I feel like I need the Grass Knot to be that answer. That's just where I'm at with it. And then if I have to run the Grass Knot, I feel like you have to run both Thunderbolt and Wild Bolt. And so then just being either Terra Blast with Terra Boost or the Flash Cannon here with Terra Steel, I believe that it is the best scenario.
Here's a calc for you, Angelo. With Life Orb, Wild Bolt Storm has a chance to 2-hit KO Flutter Mane.
But I'm not worried about the Flutter Mane. Overall, I could do the Terra in general.
It's
I could
really
either do the
positive
Terra.
roll too. 79%.
Well, in general, I could either do the Terra Steel, Flash Cannon, or I do believe just the Terra Flying Terra Blast, just for consistent overall damage. I don't think Thunderous on this team is going to act as my anti-Fluttermon. It would be nice for it, but I think going back to the reason why Thunderous is on the team, it's specifically so I don't get completely rolled by ground types. And if my ground type answer can't also threaten ground types, then what's the point? So that's why I'm thinking, like either the Steel Terra type with the Flash Cannon, or I just do the Terra Flying Terra Blast, which I'm leaning towards because I'm trying to think of the exact role that this Pokemon needs to fulfill on the team.
So I think this is where like playtesting also really comes in
Yes.
handy, because like not like regardless of like what we decide tonight, there's pros and cons to every decision, right?
There definitely
So
are.
like if you come out to the point where, hey, this is constantly a problem where I can't deal with Fluttermane with this thing, like having that assault vest does make a big difference. Or, making it where you are able to like just be able to put them in a position where, you get a lucky para and then suddenly they're in a position where they had to make a read or whatever. Um so I think there are definitely pros and cons to both. And I just, man, on these kind of teams, I just really lean towards I want to do as much damage as possible.
Well, I think
But again, that's like the
yeah.
hyper aggressive player in me. That's the hyper offense player would just like do the damage and just like call it a day, right?
Yeah. I think just in general where we're at right now, and I think what you said, Carter, is the point. We generally have the six. Um, I think one of the issues, especially like building a team from scratch, is you do get into the decision paralysis where you're trying to fit everything in one go, and at some point you just have to say this is what it is. You put the EVs in, which at least for us, this step we aren't going to really EV this team, just so this doesn't turn into a 3 hour episode. And at least for the first set, 252 is fine. Stealing stuff off of Pikalytics is fine for the first go if you can at least kind of figure out what they're doing with each set, or if you have your own sets from previous like times you've used a Pokemon to take them, which I pretty much have that for all of these Mons for me to plug in later. I would do. So I think overall, this is I'd say it's a team of six. It looks good enough to take to the ladder, to try it out, and that is the process of building a team of six with a group of three people, a team building group, which I'm actually very happy that this is built because I'm probably going to play with it after we finish recording. Thank you, gentlemen. So, moving on, we're now actually going to have Jay drive a little. And Jay went and he had this core of four Pokemon, DDF, Torterra, Armarouge, and Sneasler. And he wants to take this core that he really likes and thinks is good and wants to add on to it to form a full team of six. So, Jay,
Disclaimer: I never said that it was good. I'm having fun with it here. I don't know how good this actually is, so don't expect to take this to a tournament and win. I like Torterra a lot, and I thought it would be fun. I think that when like you're thinking about building with like weird kind of off the wall Pokemon, you have to think about what niche they fill, similar to how we were talking about with Thundy before. And Torterra's new niche is that it has Shell Smash now, and that's a really positive boost for it. It didn't have it before. Getting that 2 times speed, 2 times attack is obviously really really good. So I kind of thought let's find a way to abuse this. Um, so one of the ways that you can stop the shell smash stuff is with fake out. It's with double ups. It's with attacking the Torterra. So putting it next to the Indeedee female made a lot of sense. Um, you would you run the psychic search so that they can't do priority, they can't do the extreme speed spam, the fake outs, so on and so forth. But you can also run the Indeedee for the follow me here to allow your Torterra to kind of get set up with the shell smash. Then I kind of wanted to complete the core of the first three Pokemon and kind of build from there. And a Pokemon that made a lot of sense just because of its pairing with Indeedee was Armarouge, and it also works incredibly well next to the Torterra with that Flash Fire ability being a good switch in for Pokemon like Heatran and Chi-Yu. Um, and then finally to complete the core, I was actually watching Wolfie's video, and I kind of realized Sneasler's a lot of fun. It seems really cool.
It's so
The like
fun. It's
the
so
se-
dumb.
yeah, like the seed acrobatic stuff with like the grassy seed was what he was running in this tournament that he actually won. Um, it was for a Reg D tournament, but we were talking about in the past few weeks how this format feels a lot like Reg D as of late.
It's
So I
Reg D
thought
plus.
I thought it might, be able to make a good impression here, but instead of running the grassy seed with Rillaboom, we run the psychic seed to take advantage of the Indeedee.
So when you start with, we have the set core. Thank you, Jay, for walking us through that. And my question for you is, this set of Pokemon, like, what issues? Looking at this core for Pokemon, what issues do you think that the team has at this stage that could be solved by adding another team member to it?
I think that ground types is a bit of a problem, especially Pokemon like Landorus, who Torterra can't really hit. They threaten Sneasler, and they bring the Intimidate. I think that Intimidate here is a big detriment to Torterra because you have the White Herb getting burned, but also it's a good answer to the Shell Smash to kind of keep it underneath, under wraps afterwards. And the Sneasler can be pretty easily shut down with the Intimidate. We have the Swords Dance there, but we'd rather not click that if we don't have to. So a Pokemon that I was looking at to kind of answer that, both of those things, was Milotic. Um, it's a strong special attacker with competitive. It's a water type that completes that fire, water, grass core. Um, and yeah, it's a really great answer to the common intimidators in the format, being Arcanine and the Landorus.
You can do like Scald, Ice Beam, Recover, Protect, something like that.
Yeah,
You
with
can do that.
lefties
Yeah.
was kind of what I was thinking. With like a Terra Dragon, I thought could be
Mhm.
pretty good.
I
I do.
definitely the Terra Dragon. If you want to be really degenerate, you can go Coil, Hydro Pump, because the Hydro Pump becomes accurate after the Coil, and Hypnosis, and just be a bad person.
Yeah, I think we're
I think if
being
you're
enough
doing
of a
that,
bad person with the Indeedee Roo stuff already.
so like unironically, I don't hate that idea because you have Follow Me on your Indeedee to be able to like get a
Yeah,
coil up. Milotic, you don't really want the speed advantage, so like playing with Trick Room makes a lot of sense here as well. So like getting and like just firing off blind hypnosis is not the dumbest thing. I've done it. It when it works, it's awesome.
yeah. We
And
won't
then you
talk
miss
about
six of them. You miss six of them in a best of three, and you forget. That you just quit playing forever, and you regret your life choices up till that moment.
I was gonna say we don't talk about your RTT or UDL luck with
It was
or RTT
So bad.
luck
it
with
was
that,
so
because
So bad.
unfortunate.
horrific,
And I hit
horrific.
any of them, I was in a winning position, and instead I missed all of them.
So with this Milo set, I was kind of just thinking going the Scald Ice Beam because you have the Shell Smash with Torterra, you have the Swords Dance on the Sneasler, you have these kind of ways to set up already. Something a little
You
bit
want
more
something more
immediate,
immediate.
Yeah,
something that can
you
just
don't need
answer it,
setup here.
and we
Yeah.
can continue to be a degenerate with Recover and stay on the field forever. With like leftovers Recover, or something along those lines. Um, and then yeah, kind of from there, I was thinking that the missing piece is having that Pokemon that wants to sit in Trick Room that will like complete the Trick Room core.
Bear?
Um, I was thinking Hands.
So
Hands is just better.
I think
And
so.
specifically Hands because that doesn't mean that we're forced to bring the Indeedee to make everything work every single
True.
game. We can run the fake out Hands, the with the AV, and take advantage of that, but also continue to just be Iron Hands with a redirection on the Indeedee.
So hands was definitely an option that I was looking at. However, when I look at like the Indeedee, Torterra, Arma, Sneasler, Milotic, the what I thought of for a Pokemon in the last slot was immediate damage. And I mean, hands can definitely hit hard, except it's not that immediate damage dealer. And I mean, did like so Blood Moon Ursaluna did pop into my head. However, we already have the Life Orb on the Armarouge, and your Blood Moon kind of really wants that Life Orb. I think that's the best item for it. Other Pokemon for immediate damage, I was thinking about, but like would be maybe an Ogerpon
Flutter.
form here. Honestly, I don't hate Rock Ogerpon that much, um, but it's also not amazing.
I like
I
Flutter Mane quite a bit.
I was going to say Flutter could work here as well as the immediate damage dealer. The only issue feel like, as well, if you do have Flutter, is you're just going to. And I mean, it's a good thing that you're going to stop the Intimidate, but with only Sneasler and Torterra being like your main aspects of physical damage, and the Milotic also existing, people might, and maybe people just not bringing the Landorus is a good thing. But it also means that the Milotic in a lot of games where it's not getting the competitive boost, it isn't really doing as much. It's kind of sitting on the field. It's doing a thing, but it's not maximizing its potential output. I think in a roundabout way, hands is probably at least on this stage the best mon for what we're looking at here.
I think I like Volt Switch over Heavy Slam on the hands on this team though. And that's just because we can like
I
pivot
like
out
being able
into
to pivot here.
NDD.
Yeah.
We have some, good answers into Flutter to begin with, like the Sneasler. We have the Indeedee, the Armarouge is pretty solid into Flutter main cores. Being able to Volt Switch out, I think, is cool because we can bring in the Indeedee next to like the Sneasler, get that set up after like a Swords Dance or something or other. But yeah.
Yeah, and also just having like fake out like the fake out just to help set up as well on the Torterra and the Sneasler.
Or yeah, you can have like hands plus Armor Rouge as a lead as well to be able to do Trick Room things that way.
Yeah.
And then Volt Switch out and start clicking Expanding Forces.
Yep.
You can fake
because
out and
hands
Shell
is
Smash.
going to be slower than hands is slower than Armor Rouge. So like, chip them, bring in DD, click Expanding Force, make them sad.
Yeah.
My one concern is Torterra having Earthquake here.
Yeah, I wanted to change that to
Okay.
Headlong Rush here. That was
either Headlong Rush or like you get Stomping Tantrum or High Horsepower. Like,
yeah, just run Headlong Rush. Just nuke them. Like,
I think
interestingly, Headlong Rush lets you just do a ton of damage without having to set up Shell Smash, and then you still don't drop your defenses.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was just about to say with with the Headlong Rush, which is a good thing, but it's also like one of those things where you're worried. You just have to make sure that you don't Headlong Rush if you do want to Shell Smash and keep your defense straight with the Shell Smash.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it generally makes it a good mon. The Terra Grass on Torterra is super cool because Terra Grass Torterra can
I think that
out.
should be water.
Well, okay, actually, yeah, I was going to say it can wall out the non-Scarf Urshifus because the Scarf Urshifus do run U-turn. But yeah, just having it be water, you just wall the Urshifu still. Defensive terrors are just great. You also have water on the Indeedee, which I think is right. Grass on the Armarouge, which
it's pretty standard.
Just don't Terra in front of Ogerpon and you're fine.
Yeah, I think
you don't really want to begin with.
Yeah, because otherwise they just like can't click. They can't click Ivy Cudgel into you if you don't Terra. Like, yeah. I mean, they can, but like, what's the point of it at that point?
But it lets you live the Urshifu stuff.
Yeah.
And just on the Earthquake, just because I was looking at it from the sense of, building those first 4 cores, is that I had the Terra flying on the Sneasler, as we'll see in the next
Mhm.
one with the acrobatics, and the wide guard Terra Grass and the Armor Rouge.
Yep.
So those were like two Pokemon that you could potentially, click Earthquake spam next to, but picking that Iron Hands and then Milo next to it, to have that be my only sense of ground damage might not be too great, considering I can pretty much probably close to one shot Iron Hands with an Earthquake on the Torterra after a Shell Smash.
Something else I was thinking about, instead of hands, you could do like clear amulet Lando here,
Mm-hmm.
just to be able to have like some kind of intimidate support as well. It also like my big problem with Lando is its damage output isn't as good as you would. It the damage output from Lando is always disappointing, in my opinion. Like it never does enough to make me happy.
Says you. It always doesn't make me happy.
My
I'm going to ignore missing a KO in
Yeah.
Fall River Finals in a 50-50. But that was because I EV'd it wrong.
Are you
That was
like
my
are you
set.
running like max attack? Because like that's the
No, I
only
was
time.
not.
Yeah,
Like
you
max
gotta.
attack is like the only time I feel like it does even
My
close to what I want it to.
my issue with Lando here is that it's another 4 times Ice Week,
That
Mhm.
is
along with
true.
Torterra, and it's another ground
Yeah,
type.
that was
Um,
my thing.
they fill similar roles,
That is
and
that is very true. It adds another water weakness. It adds another 4 times ice weakness. Like, sure, it gives you another electric immunity for Milo, but like, that's not even that big of a deal.
yeah, like hands is a resist there, and it I think answers like the Chi and Pal well. It answers
Mm-hmm.
the Chi Yu and such,
I was
and
going
it's
to say
just
Like,
it
such a good
does
Pokemon.
struggle against the specs overheat Chiyu, but again when we get back to hands we can look at Terra. The
Yeah,
only
we
other
do like
thing I would look at with the Armor Rouge that has been popping up is Terra Psychic on these Life Orb sets, just to really like nuke everything with the Expanding Force. I'm not fully suggesting it on the team because we do have some frailer mons in Sneasler, and the Armor Rouge itself is relatively frail.
yeah.
And Torterra is going to be taking some defense drops and HP drops one way or another. So I think having a more defensive Terra is better. But in the testing process, if you do find that you're missing some KOs, or you just need a more set sense of an immediate turn one damage, having that turn one Indeedee Armor lead and just going full out offensive, calling their it makes the opponent have to think: are they going to Terra Psychic Expanding Force me, or are they with next to Follow Me, or are they going to set Trick Room in some way? And just having that in your back pocket, where if you can call out a more passive turn one by your opponent and just take pretty much a free free KO or two, that could be really useful. To just again as another option that if you find it during testing. The Sneasler I think is great. Sword Saints Acrobatics, Close Combat, and Protect on this Terra Flying set. It's amazing. We all know that Terra Flying Acrobatics is really good because Roaring Moon did it all the time, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a good bond." And Sneasler is another one that can just do that really well, and it gets both a speed boost with the ability, and it also gets this defense boost, special defense boost with the Psychic Seed, which I think is just really, really neat. On the Milotic here, again, we went through that. I think really the only thing that we have to fully flesh out on this team is what do we want to do with the Iron Hands Terra type.
Probably fire. I don't.
I
I
was
don't
gonna
think
say fire
there's.
or water.
I
So
don't think there's a better type than fire right now on this thing. Um,
With this,
like it's not amazing into the Urshifu, but I think we have enough,
we have
and
the answers.
we just don't terror in front of it if we can help it.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you threaten Urshifu, so like,
I think water could be. I think water could be a little better. And I know it's a weirder Terra type. I think it might be a little early Reg E, but I did run Terra Fairy hands, and I didn't hate it. But I think right now, Fire to stop the burn might be nice. Stop the Ogre Pawns as well. I think we should go with Fire. And again, this entire process, no one builds the perfect team in the first go. You always need to make sure you're testing. So this is
I would like you to speak for yourself on that one. My teams are always perfect.
Yeah, seriously, we're on top of it.
Your team. This is why we're actually the real reason why we're actually doing this episode is because Carter is going to go to a real tournament on this weekend with Carl, and we're making sure that he doesn't pull a monkey again, where he just showed up and said, "This is my 6. It's built
I haven't
on
decided
cards."
if this is what I'm doing it or not. I might show up with the monkeys. I already have them built.
I'm pretty sure if you show up with the monkeys, Carl will just leave you wherever you're going.
I'm driving.
He'll take the car. Let's go to Carter's team. And again, this is last part. This was us building out Flesh on a Core. Jay, thank you. This was fun. I never thought I'd get invested into building Torterra Psi Spam, but I just was.
It's the vibe, man. It's the vibe.
Yeah. This is the
board.
Carter team. So Carter actually, this is a team that he already built. He came to us with the full 6. This is a team where we're going to focus more so on this process
here.
of tweaking a team building process, trying to figure out which Terra type's good or not, which items, which moves, and certain EV spreads and such. And let's start off in this process. Carter, tell us what actually, let me pull up let's
So, early on in Reg E, I was playing a lot of Wheezing, and it was just like Wheezing plus stuff that didn't really care if they didn't have their ability, which is kind of what we did here, but I just kind of like updated it. So like the first thought is, hey, Fluttermane is absurd. We're going to play that. We're going to play Iron Hands because Iron Hands already doesn't have an ability. So
Yep.
it just like does not matter if its ability is turned off because, well, it doesn't get turned off, and 2, it doesn't have an ability. Past that, I really wanted some kind of intimidator, so I just went like with the most generic one in Hisuian Arcanine, especially because it's like a mon I haven't played a ton with, and felt that it was probably about time I actually did so. And then so I'm like, well, I already have my fire type. I need, I want to run out like my fire, water, grass core, and I'm running out of team spot, so I'm going to play a water grass type here in Ogerpon Wellspring. It's been fine. To put it very bluntly, it's been like the mon I don't bring basically ever. And I might just be because I don't think I'm playing Ogerpon well, and so like as a result, I'm not bringing it when I probably should be, and it's kind of because it's in that like wheelhouse of things I haven't played with enough to be able to know when it's good, and so like that's just going to be something that like grinding games is really going to be able to help me figure out, because whenever I play against it, it doesn't feel like I'm really all that threatened by opposing ones, like in any form. And when I'm playing with it, it's just like, sure, I get to do, like it's a follow me user that can also do like significant damage from time to time. From there, I wanted some kind of ground immunity because I have 3 Pokemon that are severely weak to ground. And I also wanted like some kind of prankster, like speed control. But I didn't want to do Tornado Stings because I didn't think that like Tailwind was all that important on my like Iron Hands Wheezing team, especially when like Fluttermane is already fairly fast. Arcanine has its own speed here in like E-Speed and stuff. So I went with Prankster Thunderous because Thunderwave is a hell of a drug when it works. Eerie Impulse is sick, and yeah, that was it. Like that was the decision. It's like Eerie Impulse, I think, is really underrepresented in the current format, and I think Thunderwave is just like, I want to be a degenerate and never miss. So, that being said, after playing a handful of games with this and like actually, figuring out how the team works, Thunderous by itself is not enough of a ground immunity to dictate wanting to play Arcanine. So I've actually like this is something I brought up to you all this morning. I wanted to change out the Arcanine to Landorus, and so then I was thinking about it before the cast. You all were already here. Something that got brought up is Ability Shield Landorus, because then I still get my Intimidate and they don't, which I think is stupid and awesome, and I love it all at the same time. Like the fact that I get to pressure my opponent with Intimidate while they sit there and flounder and try to figure out how to beat a Weezing, being able to like intimidate them, and then something I didn't really talk about on the Weezing. Neutralizing gas is awesome, but like Weezing also just has like a good move support, like a support move pool here in like Will-O-Wisp and Pain Split, and I wanted to be able to have some kind of like actual good damage output. So Carl, I think, had mentioned earlier in the week something about like this Gunk Shot Wide Lens set on Weezing. I'm like, well, if I'm playing Gunk Shot, I might as well play like another like slightly inaccurate move in Will-O-Wisp as another support move. And if I'm doing Will-O-Wisp, like if I'm doing this Wide Lens set, I need some kind of recovery, so that's where Pain Split comes in.
Okay, so that explains the Pain Split, because
Yeah.
like one of the first. So when Jay and I were looking at the scene, one of the first things that we were looking at is instead of having like the item on the Weezing, which Wide Lens does make sense with the Gunk Shot. I personally think with the way the meta is going right now, Amoonguss is trending relatively upward, and one of the nice things with Weezing, which we might get to when I suggest like another change or so that I would make to the team, is having like taunt is just super 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 useful, and I would prefer taunt over Pain Split, and then like a berry on Weezing, because there is another slot that I definitely would change out, which is this Thunderous slot, because I think there's another Pokemon that just do.
The other change I've made is changing Ogerpon forms. I went from the Wellspring to the Hearthflame, which it's literally just like the same set but with a fire type instead. And again, like Mold Breaker is fine, but like turning off Mold Breaker is not that big of a deal. And then being able to like Terra switch in Weezing, like Terra get your stat boost, switch in Weezing, switch out Weezing, get another stat boost. Yeah, like being able to get +2 attack is way better than getting +2 special defense, right? Like,
it's Walmart brand Intrepid Sword from Sword
yeah,
and Shield.
exactly. And I know you're gonna hate on this Thunderous, but like, dude, it has won me every game I've ever brought it.
I think the thing is, you're looking for speed control, and you're also running a Weezing team, and I think the issue that you run into, or at least Weezing teams that have run into, is if you lose momentum. Like, I think the whole thing with Weezing is the fact that the Weezing can put out, like, this Gunk Shot set can do a little more, like, damage than, like, say, your Sludge Bomb set, especially if you have the Wide Lens. However, the Pokemon next to the Weezing needs to be doing a lot of the picking up with everything. With that being said, I don't think you can really bring Thunderous and Weezing, and if you are trying to use like Thunderous as your support, well, they can still get off the Tailwind and they could still put off the pressure. I think the best partner for the Weezing in this slot for a for a mon that can support you but still put out damage is a Terraflying Tailwind, Roaring Moon. It's a Pokemon that you can easily slot into next to Weezing. I think just getting that speed control, because one of the things that I'm looking at with this team in general, especially again if the Weezing's out next to the Thunderous, is that Pokemon like Scarf Landorus Therian and Scarf Urshifu can really do a number into your team before you can get that Thunder Wave off, and that's if you can get the Thunder Wave off.
Another thing there is like I am booster speed on Fluttermane as well.
Okay,
I don't think
that's
the paste I sent you is not, but that is another change I made. Was just like going from modest to timid.
What if
And like we have
Thunderous was Grimmsnarl instead? What
I
do you think
just
about
don't
that?
like having a Pokemon that like their entire purpose is I need Prankster on a Weezing team. And when you look at the other Pokemon, the Flutter, the Ogerpon, especially like the Flutter, the Ogerpon, and the Ability Shield Landorus, you want to focus on damage output more than anything. Um, Hands is, even though Hands doesn't have any support moves outside of Fake Out, I feel like it's a fine support on its own. Because the Weezing can do a lot of support stuff, whether it's Will-O-Wisp, and then whether that third move is Pain Split or Taunt or the litany of other great moves it gets. Whether it be like Clear Smog, Destiny Bond, Haze, like there's a lot of things it can do. Um, I feel like this slot needs to be something that first and foremost does damage and hits things and can both take advantage of the wheezing and also um, keep momentum going. And that's why the Roaring Moon makes so much sense. Your booster speed Roaring Moon lets you go ahead and get a tailwind up before all of the Prankstermon can get it up. And like if you do go, like just say we switch to Taunt, what's really cool is you can actually spec your Weezing to be faster than Tornadus in Tailwind, which I think is like about 84 EVs or so in investment. It's like a not a minimal investment, but it's a massive investment into speed for the Weezing. And you can taunt their Tornadus before it even is able to move. And you just get so much momentum out of that first turn, stopping them from getting their tailwind up. And then you can start using this really, really powerful Terraflying Acrobatics or knockoff to put out damage and keep up the momentum that the Weezing is allowing you to put in. That's at least my look with like for that slot with the Thunderous.
counterpoint. I don't like Roaring Moon.
Okay, that'll do it as well.
That's the best I got. Thunderous has been good, man. I know you've like sat here and just I don't want to say you just like sat here and shed on it for 5 minutes or whatever, but like
it was like 4.5.
It is better than it looks. I will give it that. The EVs are kind of whatever.
I just don't.
That is one thing that I have not nailed down yet is like figuring out EVs or whatever. But like Eerie Impulse, I think is really good right now. Especially in like if you look, there's like, the special attackers that are in the format like are really like being able to get like a Prankster Eerie Impulse off into them just makes it where their damage output is so non-existent that it doesn't matter what you're pairing next to it, that it just like is fine. So like something I've done is have like Thunderous plus Flutter Mane out, Eerie Impulse their Flutter Mane to be able to live the hit to be able to then KO them.
My concern with Eerie Impulse is just that like your main special attackers that you're hitting in the format is kind of just Flutter Mane. That's the main one that you're getting the attack of. It's that and Blood Moon or Saluna. Like you can't affect the Chi Yu, you can't affect the Golden Go. Like
you can hit Heat Train, you hit Bundle.
I
there's a part of me who would rather just
Go.
like I like the idea of like Grimmsnarl because you can like set the screen. You're not worried about the Chi Yu. You still get to do the Thunder Wave stuff. You get to do Spirit Break, but you also get to do Reflect on the physical side, and it helps a lot on that as well.
I made a Alola Tales absurdly sad the other day because they were just like, all right, I'm gonna swap out because I had Weezing out. And it was like Weezing versus like Heatran plus something. I'm like, all right, well, this is a very, very clearly Earth power into Weezing, so swap into Thunderous. Prankster Eerie Impulse them, so now they don't do any damage. They swap back into Alola Tails. I swap back into Weezing on the same turn, and just like made them absurdly sad. It was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, again, my whole thing just looking at like the options, and even again like with Grim, I just think having the prankster Pokemon on a Weezing team is counterintuitive. It goes
But
all the
at the
way
same
back,
time, like not every game is a Weezing game either.
but I think it
Which is
goes
like
all.
the point Jay is making too, right? Like screens
Yeah.
is probably better than like this like weird, like I don't want to say weird form of speed control because Thunderwave is good. And like I'm not married to Eerie Impulse. It was just like an idea I was throwing out there. I could see this being like some kind of coverage move or something as well, and just like having Prankster as Thunderwave. But like, is that enough to justify doing it? Like, you could drop Eerie Impulse and play Taunt, and then you're like Thunderwave plus Taunt. So like, then you have your own form of speed control against the opposing teams as well. Also, I completely forgot that Thundurus had Wild Bolt Storm, so like that's clearly needs to be swapped over Thunderwave over Thunderbolt.
I think Thunderbolt is better. It's just more consistent.
It is more consistent. I think
Yeah, it's 180 spread versus
It's one.
like
It's like 110
95
spread. Yeah, or 180.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying 180 base power. I was like,
No,
are you
no, no,
crazy?
no.
I was like, oh my gosh, imagine. No.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah, it's like you're getting more power out of your Thunderbolts, and
That's true.
You're not missing. If you wanted to put like Rain Dance here, then maybe we could talk about it. But
that was something else.
I don't think the
being
Rain
able
Dance
to, like-
does anything for
yeah, you don't
though.
have the Urshifu or anything
Yeah.
there.
I think just my
It could be Sunny Day and then be like specs on Flutter Mane, because then I have sun
Yeah, the
boosted
speed booster.
Ivy Cudgels.
so.
And Speed Booster Flutter Mane with choice specs.
I
Yeah.
think my
Mess
main
them
issue
up.
just in general with the Thunderous is it goes back to a conversation we were having at the start of building my team where like we were thinking, okay, what about putting the Dusclops Blood Moon? And it's that situation where it turns into your team wanting to go multiple places.
Mhm.
I feel like if you, because like I know that you've piloted a team, and so you have that built-in experience. In my opinion, you have two Pokemon on your team in Weezing and Thundurus that you just cannot bring together, and that can make your team predictable. Or like your brings predictable. Where if your opponent sees Thundurus or Weezing, they're probably going to say, okay, the other one isn't in the back, and I can now make decisions. I can make safer decisions on that. Along with the fact that I just feel like this specific sort of team, you want to have some sort of, you want to always have that pressure. Now, one thing you did bring up is switching the Flutter Mane to specs, and if you don't like the Roaring Moon, which I do think is the best Pokemon for this, but another option is going specs on Flutter and then turning the Thundurus into a booster speed, Iron Bundle with the Protect Encore Icy Wind Freeze Dry set. I think that it still provides you some offense. You're getting immediate speed control with Booster Icy Wind, which I think is a better control option for this team than the Prankster Thundurus. And it just, again, allows you to keep up some sort of pressure. And against your ground types as well, you're immediately threatening these ground types. Like, they can't safely bring the Landorus when they know that they might be eating an Icy Wind or a Freeze Dry. So that could be another option. Also gives you a Water Fire Grass Core that you did lose by swapping the Ogerpon.
That is true. I hadn't thought about that.
So that's where I would go with it. Not saying that Thundurus is a bad Pokemon, nor saying that Grim. Far from it. I think both Pokemon are great Pokemon that have their places. It's just understanding what the team needs, and also like you now have a set where okay, you don't bring the Weezing, you could still bring Bundle to pretty much any other set of four with this team, and it makes it so that your lead doesn't forecast what's in the back for your opponent, which I think is very important.
So you did mention that like Weezing and Thundurus don't play well together. I actually feel like I bring them together pretty often. Just like I don't lead them together because like if they're going to threaten Weezing, swapping into Thundurus is just like a free switch usually. you're usually pressuring Weezing with like a ground type attack, right? And being able to get that free immunity in is good. And then like your prankster's not turned off now.
I'd
So
rather
like
be torn then.
I mean that is fair. Like that is a good idea. That is a thought that I've had, and I think on the original team I was torn. Like on the ones that I had back in early series, Reg E. I don't have that team on here. I think it was on my phone. I think it's gone now, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I was torn instead of Thundy.
Yeah, I think just in general for the team, like I think if like your focus is the Weezing things, having one of these booster speed Pokemon that provides like full blown speed control, I think it just does more for your team than the Thunderous.
I think that slot is like the one that I'm lost on. And like I said, I've really enjoyed playing with Thunderous. I think that enough people don't know what it does because like it hasn't been around that long in this generation, and you know, influx of new players means that like they're going to see things that they've never seen before. That being said, in a best of 3 environment, in an open team sheet environment, like it's telegraphed immediately what it's doing, right?
Yeah.
So like this is a thing of like best of 1 ladder versus best of 3 open team sheets, which is like a very big difference.
Yeah.
And I think that is like something like having that consistency for the sake of like having the consistency of like a team for best of 3, I think is probably the correct thing to do, as opposed to trying to, you know, get people.
Yeah. I do think, like, and again, this is collaborative. Jay, if you agree with me on this, and Carter as well, I think, like, Bundle is, like, the consensus pick, or at least could be the consensus pick here, going, like, with the booster bundle. In this slot, again, just to try it, gives us the Firewater Grass, and it gives you the speed control that you've been looking for, along with, like, support and encore.
If I do that, I could still be like booster on Flutter and then be like Sash on Bundle as well. It is something.
I think that the booster is better on the bundle because, again, like you're getting that you're getting that immediate speed control, because the one, like, while bundle is naturally faster than the majority of the meta, there is a lot of choice scarf out there, and most people are specking their Urshifu and their Landorus to be faster than the bundle. And so to be the booster bundle, you're guaranteeing yourself to be the fastest Pokemon.
I'll have to play around with that the next couple days before nail something.
We'll stick with the Thunder for now, for like tuning up the rest of the team, and then we'll go into, like, again, healthy debates on like which slot. So on the Weezing, Jay and Carter, we have Terra Poison here. What?
Oh yeah, my Terra types are for the most part incorrect.
Okay.
It is like usually the last thing I work on in team building, and I don't know if that's correct to do, but like that's how I've been doing it. I think Weezing probably wants like Terra Dark.
Water.
I was thinking water as well. Dark. So
Prankster doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is true. My thought was like Prankster, but like neutralizing gas shuts that off.
Yep.
And then like psychic immunity, if that's actually a concern, but I don't think it is.
Like, I'd rather just be able to take a surging strikes better, I think.
Yeah. And I think with what you said about Pain Split being that form of recovery, since you don't have the recovery berry with Wide Lens, I actually do think that makes sense. And then so for like the EV spread as well, going max special defense, I know that we have this really good defense stat. The only thing that I'm thinking of is the fact that this is such a give me the words. Finding the words. There we go. Offensive, physical offensive meta, where I wouldn't hate, like, go here, like an impish nature, and let me lower this here, and we go to the bump, which is here, and then like maybe like four, like get like a little speed in here, because I think like 86, 85 or 86, we're going to make sure we're outspeeding those, as in, like, we're going to make sure that we're outspeeding most Iron Hands, which is very important. And then you bulk dump the rest in SpidF. I think that's fine. Because you want to make sure that you're naturally faster than Iron Hands to get that Will-O-Wisp off before it can do anything.
Do we want to be like more physically offensive at all?
We could do that. We could
I don't
like
think
if
so.
like dump like go to like
I
28.
think I agree with Jay. Whereas like this is a support Pokemon. I don't really need to invest into the attack.
Also,
Like
if you look at
Wetlands
your
is really
stats,
just here for one more time.
your attack stat is already base 90. Just to invest in your special defense, take your hits better. Like you don't need that much investment.
I think that's where I lean as
you're
well.
clicking Will-O-Wisp and Pain Split 90% of the time anyway. So
You are. Yeah. As for the hands, I think we talked about it hands earlier with Fire type being a really good Terra, which I think for this team as well. Actually, I think
I was thinking Grass just because like Amoonguss could be slightly problematic, but
yeah, since you don't have the taunt,
I just don't want to get spored. I think that's the big thing.
Since you don't have the taunt on the Wheezing, I think going Grass is great here.
well, you have the Ogre Pod to follow me in front of the Amoonguss.
Yeah, that works because man, that's so annoying.
I think
like
then
the fact that like
Grass is a fine defensive typing. It's like the Urshifu. It's good into the Ogre Pond water.
I think water could also be good here because with the team as it currently stands, there isn't a water type. So to just have that faux water fire grass,
I don't hate it.
Maybe we go there.
Water grass, yeah.
As for the spread, I really like just completely maxing out the SpidF investment on your AV hands. I honestly think you need to at this point to live certain hits. Yeah, it is. This is. Trust me, this is the play. And
okay.
For your offensive investment, I think again it's a situation where I think you only need to hit the first bump. Speed, we could again just put a few EVs in here, like 36. I think is fine to just speed creep. Other hands. And then we could go 144. I think you can go like 36, 108. The only reason why you aren't investing as much into the HP stat is because it's already base 154.
You already have a huge stat. Why invest into it too much? Yeah.
That law of diminishing returns, the same reason why, and that's also why you're putting 252 into the Iron Hands, even though it already has the Assault Vest. It's the same exact thought process as building Kartana sets back in Sword and Shield, where you would have like the 244, like the 244 invest in with the vest into the Kartana, where it's and like you only would have like 4 HP, 4 defense, 4 attack, and it's because like the attack stat's so good. Same reason why we're only going to the first bump. You already have base 140. Getting that first bump is really all you need. The Ogre Pawn, I think we can just... This is one that we just added. I think a Jolly 252 is fine.
Yep, that's what I am.
Yeah, unless, Jay, do you have a better Ogre Pawn set?
No, I don't.
Okay. Flutter here. You said you did switch to Terra. Actually, Jay, you can take over the Flutter, because I know you said that you had one that you... a booster speed one that you've been using.
Yeah, hit me. What do we do here?
I think it's like you get to like 192 on speed. You do like Jolly or Timid.
Yep.
Yeah, you get to 193. I think I normally go to. And then 193 just because you outspeed the +2 max speed dozo. Then I do like 220 HP. Um, and then I think it's like 76, 68 it should be.
It's 76
Or
44.
44. Yeah, you can go less on the defense even a little bit.
To get to
Um,
68.
60, yeah, and then you can just kind of pump. Yeah, you can pump the rest from here, just about.
Yeah. And then I think, again, on this set, you want to be, um, for your Terra type on the Flutter, the Terra Fairy instead of the Terra Ghost. Uh, another
Yeah, again.
decision that, again, it's a debatable one, is Moonblast over Dazzling Gleam. I prefer the Moonblast on the booster speed sets because, like, the spread's nice on D-Gleam, but you just aren't really picking anything up with it. The
Sure.
Moonblast you could still nuke, but if you're more comfortable with the Dazzling Gleam, then feel free.
Oh, most of the time I'm clicking Shadow Ball. It feels like so. Having that like single target Moonblast is probably also better.
Okay, yeah, because if you're clicking the Shadow Ball a lot, the Moonblast in all neutral situations is just better than the Shadow
Like,
Ball.
if I'm not like doing Icy Wind things to be able to outspeed things, and like I'm just trying to do pure damage, Shadow Ball is usually it. But Moonblast makes a lot more sense here because it is just more it's more damage.
Yeah. Thunderous, we talked through. The spread is. I think
I probably want to be like modest.
I think
No,
Calm's
I think you
fine.
just want the bulk. I think that this is fine. You might just want to be like
Okay.
Rocky Helmet and then move the Citrus Berry onto Wheezing.
You could do that. You could be Rocky Helmet here.
That would let you
And-
probably run Taunt on Wheezing too.
Overpain Split, yeah.
Yeah, I think the taunt is and because the other
I think
thing
if I
is
do that, I don't want Gunk Shot though.
I think you definitely want
No,
Gunk
I think you
Shot.
still run it. You can probably come close to KOing Flutter with that.
It's not even for the Flutter. The Gunk Shot. I don't know the exact attack stat investment, but I do know that the Gunk Shot. I think it is even just with 4 attack invest. The Gunk Shot's able to pick up Illusions, and that's actually more important. I remember so when I was doing a few sets earlier on, like with my Blood Moon team, I ran up against a Wheezing team, and the first Gunk Shot missed, and the second one took the full KO. And I have like a max HP and with a decent bit of defense in my Overpalm Water, and the Gunk Shot didn't care. So I do think that's the move. The best part is you don't care about Intimidate because you're neutralizing gas. The Terra here, I think, could be. I think this is another Terra Water. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's fine. I think it that or Steel.
I don't think I've ever terrored this thing, so.
Or Dark even.
Actually, yeah,
like
let's
Tornadus or Ghost for Fake Out.
Ghost for Fake Out's good, and we can like say here. The last thing with the Landorus, I think on the ability shield, you want a defensive Terra. Again, so maybe this is the Terra Water. And as for the spreads, honestly, like you could do a defense, you could do a bulkier spread, or you can just 252 this thing. And you were talking about needing damage, so I think the 252 is just fine. So yeah, so that was team number 3. We went and updated a few sets, updated a few spreads. Show that even when you have a full team of 6, once you get that playing time in, you can definitely have some ideas on what to change. Like Carter came in already having 2 spots to change, and it's also good. Good that Jay and I, when we first looked at the team, made those immediate thoughts as well. It's good to have disagreements if 3 people also see this is an immediate change, that Arcanine to the Landorus, then it's probably a the right move to make. So we have the three teams here. What we can do is maybe after this episode, Jay and I can put together the spreads for our respective teams, and we can tweet them out with the episode as well, or later in the week. And for all, who knows, you might see one or all three of these teams on a future laddering episode. So I think that's it with the team building. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm about ready to go.
I am exhausted.
I am a tired boy as well. Jay, send us home.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all the fun YouTube stuff. If you're over on Spotify or Apple Music, make sure you leave us a rate. Follow us over on Twitter at LR Lessons, at JMG10 for me, at VGC, at Mr. Missouri 25 for Angelo and Carter, respectively. Come hang out in the community Discord. We all hang out there. It's a fun time. We all talk about random stuff. The website at www.lrlessons.com, and then make sure you also check out the Patreon and the Discord supporters, where you get shout outs like this every single week. Shout out to Johnny Bravo Sr. and Papa Swish for Patreon, and Smeargle for Discord. And that has been it for episode 192. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time. See ya.
Bye.